how about the screen? Is it visible, guys? Yeah,
Yes.
I need some. Yeah, okay. So I welcome you guys to this online session of Python application programming. So after module 1, it was a very basics what we have done in our previous module. We have just come across like why do we need Python programming, why do we need programming priorly, and then we just try to identify a couple of functions, syntax, not much into syntax of different functionalities or modalities, just a basic syntax. And then we had learned how to create functions, user-defined functions, and we know how to navigate inside, import the packages and navigate inside the packages to draw the functions or the methods. Okay, so let us now start with module 2 of Python application programming. So these are the contents in module 2. In module 2, we'll be discussing about iterations, why iterations are needed. Nowadays, we might have heard about many things like data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, performing the task or building a machines or training a machines which performs the task, right, intelligently or automatically, right? You're going to train a machines in such a way that it imitates the human beings. Okay, so in some situations that you might come across, like machines might be trained and they do well, they perform well if you ask a machine to do a repetitive task, correct? Whereas we human beings will get bored of doing repetitive tasks. Every day do the same thing. I think one fine day you'll get boredom or you'll lose interest, and finally the efficiency will go down, right? Just in case, like if you're you should enjoy your work unless and until there is some new things, right? Otherwise the change is the only permanent thing and things keeps changing. But if you try to do the same task repetitively, definitely it leads to some kind of inefficiency. Okay, so machines are meant to do repetitive tasks effectively. So we shall see iterations, which are the gateways to the repetitive task, where we shall see how do we update the variables here in iterations. And we will come across the infinite loops and finite loops. Infinite loops like while loop, and once it is infinite, you need some regulations, you need some control on those while loops. Though it is infinite, you need some control, right? So in some situations, I need some break to come out of the while loop. You want to finish those iterations. Sometimes you are in the while loop and there are so many iterations inside the while loop. Say for example, you have multiple iterations inside the while loop. You are trying to check multiple conditions inside the while loop. Okay, and while checking those iterations, you might go to another iterations. You want to jump from one iteration to another iteration. You want to finish first iteration, jump to the another iteration. I'll be using continue in such cases. We'll take those examples and see how it behaves. And we have definite loops. Right after infinite, definite loops, where we use for loop patterns, and we will apply these definite loops on strings. Okay, where we'll deal with the strings, and then we shall see how to find the length of the string and traverse inside the string, how to read individual characters inside the string with a loop. Very basic things, right? And we will try to slice the string. We try to remove the part of the string, segment the string, and try to count how many characters are there inside the string, and so on. And we have a couple of methods, just like a math, importing math leads to many functions, right? Math.py, math.square root, math.log10, and so on. We have many such functions inside the strings, right? We can call the string methods inbuilt functions, and we shall see how to use parsing strings, and sometimes we use format operators just like hash, greater than, equal to, symbols inside the string, how to deal with such kind of characters. And lastly, we'll try to open a file, a text file. Okay, we try to handle a file and then read each line of that file and try to read each word of that file and try to count how many times a particular word is repeated and so on. Also, we use try and except model here. Say for example, if user is trying to read a particular file but it's not present inside the directory or the data, right? So then in such situation, in folder, say for example, in such situation you can use try and except to open and write the file. Okay, if the file is not present, you create a new file. If a file is present, you open the file. So in this situation you can use this try and except models. Okay, so now just let us, after this syllabus, let us just switch back to our Google Jupyter notebook. So is it visible, guys? Jupyter notebook. Is it visible? I need some response. No, okay, fine. How about now?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, fine, good. So this is my class work module 2. I'll be sharing the Jupyter notebook file of module 1 maybe after this class on your WhatsApp group. You may just try to go through those codes, commands, and just try to revise what we have done in module 1. So this is module 2. Let's just convert this into a markdown so that I can have some leniency of typing some lines here. So what do you mean by iteration? So iterations are nothing but, so module 2 starts with iterations. Okay, so I call, as I said, iterations, right? Iterations. So repeating identical or similar task, correct? Repeating identical or similar tasks without making an error. So that is very important. Without making an error. So this is very important. So I try to repeat identical task without errors, correct? Something that computers do well rather than we human beings. And repeated execution of a set of statements. This is another definition, right? Repeated execution of a set of statements is called iteration. So these are two definitions. What do you mean by iterations? And pseudocodes for iterative loops. How does it appear usually, the pseudocode for iterative loops? Pseudocode is nothing but a general language of explaining how to define the iterations or how to define a concept. So usually iteration starts with an initializer sections, right? Initializer section. For I is equal to 0, you initialized it, right? And then check with the condition. So this is how I write the pseudocode. Then check with the condition I less than n, right? I less than n is the condition. After you initialized I is equal to 0, I less than n. Usually the conditions will be checked with respect to the Boolean expression, right? Boolean expressions I use to check the condition. And then I have the iteration section, right? I have those flower brackets you remember in C programming. Iteration sections. So roughly I will write here, this is I equal to 0. This is I less than n. I less than n. Okay, and here iteration section is like it begins with the flower bracket. This is my pseudocode. Understand? This is my pseudocode. Just a general way of representing the blocks. Okay. So now let us just try to understand the syntax of Python iterations, how it works. So I will take the while loop. So what do you mean by a while loop? While loop is an infinite loop. Unless and until you have some conditions inside the while loop, it keeps iterating inside the loop or the body, right? So while loop is an infinite loop. So it evaluates the condition yielding true or false. First, what it will do, let me just put the statement here. See, this is the syntax of the while loop. So it begins with while and expression and colon. So this is the body of the loop. Colon ends the body of the loop. Sorry, header of the loop and statements. So whatever you type with an indentation belongs to the body of this while loop. So this is the simple syntax of while loop. Let us just take an example. So now I'll declare n is equal to 5. I'll assign a value for n, and then now I call while. While is a keyword. Okay, while is a keyword. While n greater than 0. So while n greater than 0, whenever n is greater than 0, it is true. Colon. So let me use a simple statement here, print n. Okay, print n, and I need to reduce the value, right? It is equal to control. N is equal to n minus 1. And then to make sure that I am out of the loop, I will write another statement here. The loop has been implemented or completed. Now if I run this program, so let us just try to understand. So this is a while keyword space n greater than 0. This is an expression or a condition. Okay, and then print n. So it keeps printing the n at each iteration. So what is the value of the n in first iteration? It is 1. What is the value of n in second iteration? Since the value is reduced by 1, so it is 5 initially, then it is 4, 3, 2, 1, and once it becomes 0, right? So this is false, so it will come out of the loop. So if you just try to execute this statement, you could see in the first iteration it is 5, then it is reduced or decremented by a value 1, so it is 4, then it will be printed. So this will be iterative, right? When the value becomes 0, see, understand, when the value becomes 0, it will come out of the loop. Okay, so any doubt? So it's a very simple execution of the loop. And I can take another example. What happens here? What happens here? Can anybody tell? So while true, guys, see here, this is while true. While true means what? There is no condition here, it is always true. And if I just run this program, this will run infinitely. This will run what? Infinitely from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on. Why? Because I have not put any condition here. I have simply used the keyword called true, and this loop is always true. I have not used any break also here. I don't want to run this program. Why? Because it will run forever or until the battery of this system is dead. Right? So in this situation, if I want to have some control, right? If I want to have some control on the loops, so you can take this example or a screenshot and then you can try later. This print done will never get executed. Okay, so this is an infinite loop which runs forever. And if I try to run this program, the system will hang and I need to restart the this Jupyter notebook. So just try at home when you're free and then just check what happens. Okay, So now I shall try to control this loop with some other program. Let me go take another cell. Yeah, I'll come here. Okay, can anybody try to explain this? While true, that means this is always true. This is infinite. But someone has unmuted. Okay. Guys, please be careful, observe this statement. So here, this is always true. This statement is always true, while true. Line is equal to input. Now, inside the body of this loop, I've written a couple of statements. This line takes input from the user. Takes input from the user, right? This loop is infinite. Remember, this loop is infinite. That means this repeats. This is a repetitive task. And every time the user gives the input, it will be verified with the condition called if line equal to done. Whether user has entered an input of string called done. If user has entered the input called done, then this loop will break. Correct? See, this infinite loop will break and it will simply print this statement. If the loop has break, right, it will come out of the loop. That means simply to, if I want to say simply, if you say done, it will print capital done. Okay. So now let's just try to verify this, how it performs. See, now this is infinite. You keep giving the input, it takes the input, right, infinite times. It keep taking the input infinite times. Now, if I try to give done here, now you can just verify done. Can you see? Let me run this program again. See here at the first iteration, it is asking. So this is executed. This is at the first iteration. Sorry. So this is first iteration, right? I will place an enter. See, this is printed. Can you observe? Print line. Print line. I give an input here and that is printed here. Why? Because it is aligned here. So this is aligned with this print statement. Now it has checked with whether the user has given done, but user has not given done. So it does not break. So the loop is not, loop does exist, right? Loop is not terminated. So again, I gave in the second iteration. This is the second iteration. I given, it will print this statement second, right? Third iteration, fourth, fifth. Now if I say done, see guys, if I say done, immediately this becomes true. This statement becomes true and it will break. It will break this infinite loop and this will be typed. Okay. Oh, now it will not be executed. So it will simply say done. And now if I say done, it will be. I have a problem here. Now if I say done, you say out of loop done. Okay. Did you understand what is the significance of this break? So I just want to interrupt an infinite loop with the condition, right? I've checked with this condition. If this condition is true, you just come out of this loop. Okay. It is just like you are trying to measure a temperature using the sensor, a room temperature using a temperature sensor. And every time, it is an infinite loop. Every time the sensor input is given to your program, input here. This is a censored input. And this is repetitive, right? Every time you are getting the temperature here. And when you see the temperature is equal to, say, 35 degree, it breaks. Okay, it breaks and you perform another operation. Say, switch on the AC or something like that, right? If the room temperature is 16, you break the connection from the AC, right? The AC will not work, right? So you can use these situations, you can use this kind of statements in order to perform and control the loops, control the iterative task. Any doubt? Guys, any doubt? Fast, let me know if you have any doubts. No.
No doubt, sir.
So now sometimes what happens, I have a while loop. Sometimes I have a while loop. I'll just try to write a pseudocode here, pseudocode. I have a while loop, and yeah, of course it is always true. So since it is an infinite loop, I have made it infinite by making it as a true. And I will ask a user to give some input. Okay, I'll ask user to give some input here, and I'll check whether that input with some condition. I check this input with some condition, say condition 1. Okay, and I'll ask to perform statement 1. Statement, correct? Again, I have another condition. I'll check the same input with condition 2. Guys, remember condition 2, and I will ask to perform statement 2. Correct? I'll ask to perform statement 2. How this is possible? So this is very important. Otherwise, the remaining things remain same. The other things remain same, but because I can use some print statement here, and I want to end the loop. How to do this? If I want to finish the current iteration, see here, this will be in this loop. If I want to finish the current iteration and go to the second iteration, sequentially, remember, sequentially, I can use a continue and break statement. You have understood how to use the break statement now. So you can use this break statement just in order to terminate the loop. So now I can use continue statement to finish the current iteration and go back to the next iteration. Correct? So this is how I can use the continue iteration. See here, you prompt user to enter some input. So this is just a string which prompts user with this string. This is a caret symbol, right? C-H-A-R-E-T, caret. Now, if you prompt user to give some input, the input, right? And the line of 0, what do you mean by line of 0? The first character of the given input will be verified here. If the line of 0 means the first character of the input, if it is equal to hash, if the user has given hash, it will stay inside this loop. Understand? It will stay inside this loop with this particular iteration. It will not go to this iteration. It will never execute this iteration. It will never check whether it is equal to done or not. If the line of 0, the first character is equal to hash, it is terminated, and this continue will say go to the iteration. And then now it will check for done. If the user has given done, this will break. Let us just try to understand. See here, in the first iteration, see here, this caret symbol is given just in order to say the user will give the input here. Now let me say hi. So if I say hi, it will print hi. See here, this will be executed because it is aligned. These loops are aligned, right? If I say hello, no, sorry. See here, this is an infinite loop. It will be executing this line and this line. That's it. Correct? It will be executing this line and this line unless user has given an input which starts with hash. Say for example, hash hi. Correct? now you could see this is not executed, correct? This is not executed. It is not printed this line. That means it has given an authority. This loop has break now. This loop has been terminated. So this loop has been terminated, and now this will be verified. So again ash high. See here, again ash high. Again ash high. High. See here, can you see H? If I don't give ash, this line will be printed. Now, how to end this infinite loop? So now if you say done, if you say done, this loop will break. Right? So how to terminate or how to finish the current iteration and immediately jump to the next iteration? You can have multiple loops, no problem. You can have multiple loops and different statements. You guys understand, if you have multiple loops but different statements, I can say print I found ash, and here you just verify with say if you want a dollar symbol, then you continue, right? So now if you say hi, only this will be printed. See here, hi. I eliminated this print statement. Let me just make done here, then come back to that. Okay, so let me have this statement here, print of a line, so that I need to verify every time. Hi, it will get printed. See here, hi, and now say ash. Now say ash hi. It will say I found ash, correct? Now you say dollar high. Yeah, see here, if you say dollar high, so this loop is terminated. It will go to the next iteration. Again, you say ash high. It will say I found ash. If you want to terminate, you say done. Or else if you want to skip from this, you place a break here. Okay. So this is how I can use multiple conditions can be checked, and you can use break statements if you want to terminate the current iteration. Understand, if you want to terminate the current iteration. Okay. Yeah. So this is about finishing the iteration. Continue.
Sir, can you
say continue? It will come out. You want me to explain this? Okay. Okay, I'll just try to explain this again. This was continue and this was break. Okay, let me just try to go line by line. See, while true, this statement is always true, and this is the body of the loop. Line is equal to input, so it is ASCII prompting user to give an input. So if I want to terminate or if I want to finish this iteration, okay, if I want to finish the current iteration, so after this line, once I give the input here, correct? Once I give the input here, this will check with this condition, yes or no? Guys, I'm asking you a simple question. Go sequentially, whether this line will check for mission or not.
Sir, it will
Is
check
it true?
First
Okay.
character is hash.
Is it true? Is it true? This is false, right?
It is false now.
Is this true?
No, sir, no.
Okay, then this will be executed, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So now if I place enter here, you see this is executed. That means it is printed, right? So now, but still it is inside this loop. See, again it started asking the input from the user. Now if I say hash high, is this true now? Line of 0. What is line of 0? Line of 0 is hash. The first element of the given input character is hash. So what happens?
Sir,
Sir, it will continue.
sir, your voice is
Continue.
breaking.
Continue means what?
Sir,
Continue
the statement is true now.
Yeah, if this statement is true, I am using this continue. Continue means, see again it is asking the input. That means it does not allow the program to further execute these statements. It has just made the current iteration to finish and immediately go back to the next iteration. It will immediately go back to this iteration again.
Sir, it won't print again. It will last till we type.
No. That's why it is continue means immediately go back to the next iteration. See, this is the entire iteration, right? If I say continue, this condition, this iteration is halted and it will immediately go back to this condition. Iteration.
Yes, sir.
You did not understand. You did not understand again?
I understand.
Okay. Boss, I have not typed hash here. If I have not typed hash here, say if I not typed hash here, what is that you are getting? Did you get print line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if I typed hash high here, hash high, I will not get these statements executed. Whatever is followed by this will not get executed because I have used continue here. It will directly go back to the
Last
original
input again.
iteration.